How did the media approach 9/11? They they read from the same script. It was basically a Pentagon script. They didn't dissent was obliterated. Okay. Um, they ignored evidence from, say, first responders, firefighters. I put this on my Facebook page, who talked about explosion, boom, 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 who framed it in turn and videos. World Trade Center 7, the official narrative, which is really quite ridiculous, is that it came down on its own, and there's videos of this coming down on its own uh, from office fires. That's ridiculous. That's not how buildings. That's not what office fires do. Okay, it was a clear. One of the perpetrators said, "Let's pull it." Well, it was a controlled demolition. Any architects and engineers. There's a whole group there of architects and engineers who have debunked the official narrative. Okay, uh, the building came down in its own footprint. So did the other buildings. They exploded. There was explosion and there were squibs and they came down. That doesn't mean planes didn't hit the other buildings. They did, as far as I can tell. But when a plane hits a building like that, they never before in history has that happened where a plane hit a skyscraper like that. And bear in mind the reinforcing steels on the perimeter of these skyscrapers. Never, never, ever, ever have buildings come down like that from as a result of planes hitting them. Okay, so there's all sorts of discrepancies between the official narrative and alternate narratives, including architects and engineers. Do you know there's a bunch of architects and engineers. Robert Gage, I think, is in it. People can look at that, who have shown the falsities of the official narrative. Former prof, who's now passed away, Graham McQueen, did a lot of it. A lot of research into the media deception. Okay, so if we had a more democratic media, they would have aired testimonies from more of the first responders who said, "We heard explosion, boom, 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 boom. We saw this, we saw that." But that wasn't the game plan. The game plan was to declare an emergency, to first of all to arouse emotions in the public, and then to subvert democracy by declaring an emergency based upon a false flag, and then to wage a war against so-called terrorists where our countries actually support the terrorists. So that gives a carte blanche to invade almost any country. All you have to do is say, well, look, Al Qaeda's there. Well, excuse me, those are, as per Tulsi Gabbard and many others, and much Western supported evidence, but most certainly in Syria, the Al Qaeda, ISIS, and affiliates are Western strategic assets, proxies. And another proof would be the current government. Well, the imposed junta. It's an Al Qaeda junta, okay, which was basically installed. Now, some people will say there was this bounty on his head. Well, I see that as a smokescreen. And one of the American politicians, I don't know if it was Jeffries or someone else, said they gave this guy a waiver. They've been grooming him for what has happened, the catastrophe that they have delivered, which is the regime change.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been happening after 9/11 is just that the wider discussion, not only, in like the mainstream media, also it's wider open for the independent media also. Like the discussion, mainly the discussions are like, no, it's not an inside job. It's like it's happened. The official account, was right and all that thing. So obviously, do you think people like you who came up with a different narrative, very different from the mainstream media and all, and obviously contrary to some of the so-called independent media or the independent media who they claim they are, it's just different to them, but because of censorship, these details will never come out in the open.
Right. You don't have to agree with me, but it'd be nice if we could have an open discussion, which we don't have an open discussion. And that's where the censorship is, and that's how they frame dissent. They negate open discussion. It should be uh, a democratic discussion where it's not just the Pentagon's position and tactics that prevail